My stepmother married my dad when I was 17 years old, and my mom died when I was 5. My stepmother and my dad have 3 sons together and no daughters. My stepmother always wanted a daughter, though, and when she married my dad, she tried really hard to take over the role of mom. I never wanted her to be. That's not a specific thing. I wouldn't have allowed anyone else in to be my mom. Still, I liked my stepmother for the first couple of years, and other than a couple of annoying things. She tried to give me a more girly nickname because my name is more unisex and her talk of being a new mom. It got more strained, though, when my oldest half-brother was born just over a year after my dad and stepmother got married. Once he was born, she asked me if she could adopt me and if I would like to be her little girl, and I said no. My dad asked me to talk to him about it, and I told him nobody else could be my mom. He mentioned legal stuff, and I said I didn't want the legal protections from adoptions and wouldn't choose my stepmother if he died anyway. My dad understood, and he told me as long as I treat her respectfully, he wouldn't push the issue. He talked to his wife about it and told her the adoption was off the table and that she wasn't to bring it up again. My stepmother went crazy after that. She was always trying to sign us up for mother-daughter trips and tried to spend more and more time with me. She would come up with random trips or experiences for us to do together, and she started cutting my chores and responsibilities that I did before I knew her. She admitted she wanted to show me how great having a mom again could be. I told her I didn't want her doing that stuff. Then I started making excuses and getting out of spending any time with her. She had my second half-brother and was growing more depressed that we never spent time together anymore. After my third half-brother was born, she really got intense. It didn't help that she found out I had gone to my grandma over her with my first period, and I hadn't mentioned getting periods to her at that point. I had them for 3-ish years at that point. She had this whole talk planned and was upset that I had skipped it with her and went to someone else. She was also upset that I didn't experiment with makeup really, or go to her for makeup hair advice. Last week, my stepmother told me she wanted to be the one I go prom dress shopping with. She told me it's a huge milestone for moms and daughters, and she refuses to let us miss out. I told her I'd go with my friends when the time comes, and she was upset and told me she wants this to be a nice mother-daughter experience. I told her she's not my mom, and I'm not going to give her this mother-daughter experience. I told her she's not going to get any of those because she's not my mom, and I don't want her to be. She got really upset, and I heard her and my dad fight about it. He told her she can't force that on me. She said I should be more willing to let her in. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk. The irony is you are giving her the mother-daughter experience, just not the pre-scripted one she wanted. My biological daughter rejects me on a ton of that stuff too. She doesn't want to go dress shopping with me. She wants to go with the friends. And sometimes she will tell others her private stuff over me. None of us, biological or stepmothers, can control what you guys want to do or what you feel. You're not supposed to manage her feelings anyway. She's a grown-up, you're the kid. She likely wouldn't have gotten any of those experiences with a biological daughter because she would have pushed her away too. Comment 2. Not the jerk. Your stepmother keeps pushing when you've made it clear you don't see her the way she wants to be seen. Her lack of respect towards you wanting to honor the memory of your mother is really not a great thing. You feel how you feel. If she really wants to be a mother figure, she should respect how you feel. Besides, from what you've said, this isn't about you more than it's about her just wanting a daughter and having had 3 sons instead. You can't escape it, I guess, until you can move out, but definitely you're fine here. Now for the update, thanks for sticking around. So, things have been hectic. You wouldn't believe what happened next. My stepmom, she just wouldn't let up. She went behind my back and talked to my friends, convincing them to bail on our prom dress shopping plans. Said it would mean the world to her if she could have this one thing. My friends, thinking they were doing me a favor, agreed. I was furious. I confronted her, and she played the victim, saying she just wanted to be there for me. I lost it, told her she was never going to be my mom and that she needed to stop trying to replace her. My dad, he tried to mediate, but I could tell he was torn. He loves her, but he knows how I feel. Then my stepmom did something unexpected. She apologized, said she'd been selfish and that she'd back off. I was skeptical, but I wanted peace, so I agreed to let her come dress shopping. Just her, no friends. Big mistake. The day we went shopping, she had this whole day planned out like a cheesy movie montage. It was too much. I felt smothered and I told her. She got quiet and I thought that was the end of it. But no, she had one more card to play. Turns out she'd been talking to my grandma, the one I'm close to, and convinced her that I needed a mother figure. Grandma, bless her heart, sided with my stepmom, said I was being too hard on her. I felt betrayed. My own grandma, who I trusted more than anyone, was taking her side. I felt like I had no one in my corner. The prom dress shopping turned into a disaster. I ended up picking something just to end the day. When we got home, my stepmom tried to hug me, and I pushed her away. I didn't mean to, but emotions were high. She looked so hurt, and for a second I felt guilty. But then I remembered all the times she'd overstepped, and I hardened my heart again. A couple of days later, my youngest half-brother got sick, really sick, hospital sick. My stepmom was a wreck, and my dad was trying to hold everything together. I found myself stepping up, taking care of my other brothers, trying to keep the house running. It was like I was the parent, and my resentment towards my stepmom grew. How could she fall apart when we needed her? But then the unexpected happened. My half-brother, he got better, thank God. And my stepmom, she thanked me, said she didn't know what she would have done without me. It was a moment, you know? I saw her as a person, not just this woman trying to take my mom's place. I thought maybe we could start over, find some common ground. But life, it doesn't stop for these moments. My stepmom, in her gratitude, she made a decision without me. She told the school that she would be chaperoning the prom, said it was her way of being involved without stepping on my toes. I was livid. Prom was supposed to be my night, and now she was going to be there watching me. I felt like I couldn't escape her. I told my dad, and he said he'd talk to her, but I could see in his eyes that he thought it was a good thing, like her being there was some sort of compromise. So now I'm stuck. My prom night, which was supposed to be about me and my friends, is now overshadowed by my stepmom's presence. And the worst part, I let it happen. I let my guard down, and she swooped in. I should have known better. But here we are, and I have to accept it. Prom is just around the corner, and I'm trying to make the best of it. But deep down, I know it's not going to be what I wanted. And that's on me. Thanks for reading this mess. My boyfriend and his mom stole my credit card after a funeral, so I canceled the card, reported the fraud, and watched them get arrested. So I, 22-year-old female, am dating Greg, 25-year-old male. His mom is Lisa, 70-year-old female. Last month, we attended a funeral for a family member of Greg and Lisa. After the service, everyone was mingling in the fellowship hall and eating, and Lisa stepped out for a smoke break. I happened to see her, through one of the open church windows, get into the back seat of the car while lighting her cigarette, and then she started rummaging in the large bag that I brought along. I didn't think anything of it, as I had brought the bag so I could carry any extra things anybody needed, including lighters, for instance, so I thought that's what she was fishing for. I went back to socializing and supporting Greg. Something that is relevant, but that I forgot at the time, is that I had left my wallet in that bag. Anyway, I stopped by the gas station 2 days later for some gas and realized I was missing my card from my wallet. I used Apple Pay so I could get my gas, went home, and started searching. I also called Greg, who was at his parents' home, and asked if he could search there and see if I misplaced it somehow. I only take it out of my wallet if I'm using it, and then put it right back in, but I thought that maybe I was shuffling things in my wallet, put it down, and forgot about it. I didn't find my card, Greg didn't find my card, and I decided to give it one more day before I canceled it because maybe it would just pop up. I had also not noticed any transactions through my bank app that weren't from me. The next day, Greg texted me saying he found my card on top of the washer. He said he doesn't know how he missed it, but it was there waiting when he went to do some laundry. I told him I'd get it from him in a couple days when he came back to our apartment. The next day was payday. I checked my account to see what I made, and I noticed directly below the direct deposit was a withdrawal for an Amazon order. I haven't placed an order for anything from Amazon in weeks, and checking my account confirmed that. I asked Greg if he used my card to make a purchase, and he said no, of course not. He would never do so without asking. I canceled the card and reported potential fraud, and then it was discovered that Lisa has used my card for the purchase because she couldn't find hers. She said she would pay me back soon and that she really needed it. I don't know what she bought, but I don't care considering she stole my card. She also apparently has a history with gambling and stealing. She has taken money from Greg before, and a driving factor of her divorce with Greg's father was that she stole most of his savings while they were separated. He has never recovered the money, but it was almost $500,000. I decided I would involve the cops, and now Lisa's furious and saying I'm being a brat and a lot of other insults, and that I could have just waited for her to pay me back. Even though she also has a reputation of not paying people. Edit. No, Lisa didn't have Greg at 45 years old. She and her now ex-husband adopted him as an infant. Edit 2. No, Greg was not in on it. Yes, he's on my side. Also, I didn't come here for financial advice, so please stop giving it. I do not care what your opinion advice is regarding my lack of credit history. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. She stole your card and used it fraudulently. It wasn't an accident or an oversight. It was a deliberate choice and not an isolated one. As for being a brat, just noise from an entitled fool trying to make herself the victim. Comment 2. Not the idiot and LMAO at Lisa getting mad and calling you a brat. Believe me, she did that theft of your card coolly and casually. That wasn't her first time. Absolutely press charges. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around. So much has happened since my last post. Turns out, Lisa's little stunt with my card was just the tip of the iceberg. After I reported the card stolen, things got really messy. Greg was supportive at first, but then his behavior started to change. He became distant, and I caught him in a few small lies about where he was or what he was doing. I didn't think much of it until I got a call from the bank. Apparently, there were more charges made before I canceled the card, and they were tracing back to a local casino. Now, remember Lisa's gambling history I mentioned? Yeah, well, it seems she had been using my card there too, but here's where it gets hectic. The bank's security footage showed Greg with her at the casino, cashing in chips. When I confronted him, he swore he was just trying to keep her company, that he had no idea she was using my card. I wanted to believe him, but then the next bomb dropped. A friend of mine works at the casino and told me she saw Greg and Lisa laughing and drinking together like old pals. That didn't sit right with me. It felt like a betrayal. I mean, his mom steals from me, and there he is having a grand old time with her. The aftermath was a mess of arguments and tears. Greg kept insisting he was innocent, that he was just caught up in trying to help his mom. But helping her with what? Gambling with my stolen money? I was fuming, feeling like a fool for trusting him. And just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. Lisa had the nerve to show up at our apartment, begging for forgiveness, saying she'd hit rock bottom and needed help. She was all tears and apologies, but I wasn't buying it. I told her she needed to leave, but Greg, he actually defended her, said we should give her a chance to make things right. I felt like I was in some twisted reality show where everyone knew their lines but me. I was the only one not in on the plot, it seemed. Greg and I had a huge fight about it, and he stormed out, leaving me alone to deal with the fallout. The next day I got a call from the police. They had been investigating the fraud and wanted to talk to me about Greg's involvement. My heart sank. I didn't want to believe he could be part of this, but the evidence was stacking up against him. They asked me to come in for a statement, and I agreed. It felt like walking into a trap, but I had to know the truth. At the station, they laid it all out. Greg had been helping Lisa cover her tracks, using my card to fund her gambling. He had been in deeper than I thought, and it wasn't just about keeping her company. He had debts of his own, it turned out, and he was using my stolen card to pay them off. I was in shock. The man I loved, the man I trusted, had been lying to me all along. And there I was, thinking we were building a life together. It was all a lie. The police were sympathetic, but they needed my testimony to build their case. I agreed, feeling like I was signing away the last piece of my relationship with Greg. But what choice did I have? I couldn't let them get away with it. After giving my statement, I went home to an empty apartment. Greg had taken his things and left. No note, no goodbye, just the echo of his lies. I sat there feeling the weight of betrayal, wondering how I could have been so blind. But I had to move on. I had to rebuild. I changed the locks, got a new bank account, and started putting my life back together. piece by piece. It wasn't easy, but I knew I had to do it for myself. Thanks for reading. My parents try to force my jobless brother on me by sending him to live in my new house, so I teach them a lesson in boundaries and make them take him back. I, 35-year-old female, recently bought a house by myself for the first time after saving like crazy for 3 years and then selling my flat in the city. The house is nothing fancy, but it has 3 bedrooms, a back garden, and space for my dogs to run around. I'm really hoping that this will be my forever home. I know that I'm very fortunate to be able to do this, especially as a single woman on her own. But I've also worked incredibly hard to get here. Lots of late nights at work, side gigs, and climbing the ladder where I've been able to. My younger brother Jack, 33-year-old male, is yet to have a full-time job in his adult life and still lives with our parents. He and I get along really well, and I love him to pieces, but I've been concerned for a long time about his lack of motivation to do anything in life. He used to struggle badly with his mental health, and I've always been there to support him, including financially at times. But he's been doing okay for a few years now, and still has no interest in trying to find a job or start a career. He and my parents came over to see the house for the first time recently. While my mom and I were making dinner in the kitchen, she remarked how nice and spacious the house is. I thought she meant for the dogs, so I agreed with her. She then said, "It's so great that your dad and I know there's a place for Jack when we're not around anymore." I just stared at her for a second, processing what she had said, and then without really thinking, I blurted out, "Jack's not coming to live with me, ever." My mom thought I was joking at first, but I clarified what I meant. I love my brother, but I'm not interested in taking over the role that my parents currently play. I don't want him sitting on my sofa, playing video games and rotting away for the rest of our lives. My home is mine, and I've worked hard to be able to create this space for myself. My mom was very upset with me and claimed that I was being selfish because I had a helping hand in buying my first flat, which allowed me to eventually buy this house. For context, the helping hand was the settlement I received after a workplace accident at age 19. She also said that there is no point in buying a house with 3 bedrooms if I'm planning to live alone forever. We finished making dinner and then managed to eat the meal without saying anything else about it. My parents and Jack went home, but I then got a call from my dad later on that night saying that my mother was beside herself over thoughts of what would happen to Jack when both of them are gone. He said that I was being a bad big sister and that family is the most important thing in the world, so I should do my part to look after Jack when he's been so vulnerable in the past. I won't lie, what he said did get to me. I love my brother, and I do have the extra space. So I am wondering, am I the idiot in this situation? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You might start a very concerned discussion with them. Mom, Dad, I'm glad you're concerned about Jack's future. If he is unable to support himself and live on his own, what kind of long-term care does he need? How much assistance will be necessary? Do you have savings put aside for his care? I am not trained to be a caretaker for a disabled adult. This will probably shock your parents. But he's not disabled. You've made it clear that he is incapable of living alone or holding a job. Isn't that disabled? What resources do you have to help him? Does he qualify for disability or does he need therapy? Etc. Comment 2. Oh no, who else could possibly cater to a 33-year-old baby? Oh no! But seriously, not the idiot. And it's a little hilarious how they assume that there is no possible scenario that OP's 3 bedrooms would be occupied by her own possible partner kids. Oh no, no, no. No family when we have to patronize a grown man. I understand the mental issues, but in my opinion, there is no good in telling someone it is absolutely okay that she doesn't want anything in life because someone can always take care of them. And yes, there is a difference between helping/supporting and enabling. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for more on my story. So it's been a month since the dinner with my family, and things have only gotten more complicated. I've been juggling my feelings about my brother Jack and the expectations my parents have for me. It's been a tough time, but I've had to stand my ground. Just last week, I came home from work to find Jack sitting on my porch. He had a suitcase with him and a look that said he wasn't just visiting. My heart sank. Turns out my parents had decided it was time for him to learn independence and thought my new house was the perfect training ground. They hadn't even warned me. I let Jack in, but I was fuming. We had a long talk that night. He told me he didn't want to be a burden, but he didn't know where else to go. I felt for him, I really did. But I also felt betrayed by my parents' manipulation. The next day I called my parents. The conversation was heated. They said they were just trying to do what's best for everyone. I told them it wasn't fair to spring this on me without even asking. They said I was being selfish again. I hung up feeling guilty and angry all at once. But here's the secret that's been eating at me. I found out I might not be able to keep the house. My job's been shaky lately, and there's talk of cutbacks. If I lose my job, I won't be able to afford the mortgage. It's been keeping me up at night, the thought of losing everything I've worked so hard for. I didn't tell Jack or my parents about my job situation. I didn't want to worry them, and I didn't want to give them another reason to think I was failing somehow. But it's been hard, pretending everything's okay when it's not. Then 2 days ago, something happened that forced my hand. I got a letter in the mail, a notice that my company was indeed downsizing and my position was at risk. I had a month to prove my worth or I'd be out of a job. The pressure was on. I had to make a choice. I could keep Jack here, adding to my expenses and stress, or I could tell him he needed to find somewhere else to live. It felt like choosing between my future and my family. I sat down with Jack and laid it all out. I told him about my job, about the risk of losing the house, and about how I couldn't support us both. It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. Jack was quiet for a long time. Then he did something I never expected. He said he'd been saving some money from odd jobs he'd done over the years. He offered to help pay for groceries and bills while he looked for more work. It wasn't a permanent solution, but it was something. It showed me he was trying, that he understood the gravity of the situation. We're still figuring things out. Jack's been looking for jobs, and I've been working overtime to show my company I'm indispensable. It's not easy, but we're managing. And my parents, they're slowly coming around to the idea that Jack needs to stand on his own 2 feet. So that's where we are now. It's not perfect, but it's real life. And sometimes that's just how it goes. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.